I'm paying attention.
Take 5. Hi, Diana.
Hi, Samantha. This is our bonus kiss podcast. Keep it simple, sister.
Look at that. She just did it all in one take. So we've had several takes here trying to start because of me. And it's part of why we're doing this whole discussion live, because, or recorded if you're seeing it later, because of kind of the funk and everything that's going on, right?
Right. The
So
funk around us.
the funk among us,
Yes.
So the conversation is going to center around the dark night of the soul, and also, as part of it, the ascension process, what's going on in the energetic state of being, which I will elucidate upon as we discuss, because it's going to, some of it. Oh, wait. Okay. I know I want to say this. This is really important.
Okay.
That please use your own discernment, that what is my truth of reality and what your truth of reality, it's okay for them to be two different or coinciding things, or some things fit and some don't, because it's all seen through our perspective and what is best for us to learn and understand and integrate into our lives. That sound right?
Yes. And so this is what I've been doing with Samantha for almost a year now. It seems like 7. It's more the woo-woo spiritual side of what I'm experiencing, maybe you're experiencing, what Samantha and some friends of hers are experiencing, and kind of a spiritual, energetic explanation of what's going on, where those of us who don't have that spiritual understanding are just clueless and like, oh my God, what in the world? So it kind of brings a little bit of and Samantha said, what in the world too? I mean, like we're all kind of feeling that, but you have a different perspective than I do, and I have a different perspective than I did before I started asking you questions and investigating a lot of this spiritual and energetic stuff.
Most definitely. And so what's interesting about it is that, okay, so we joke around, people who are more focused on the spiritual aspects of things. We talk about the muggle world, and it's not that we're special any different. It's just that there's the living where you have your blinders on and you're doing the 3D. This is my experience. This is all that exists, is what I'm seeing around me. And so, that's affectionately known as being muggle, or going through that awakening process, opening your consciousness up, being aware that there's so much more. And when you move into more of that state of being, you are accepting that you're a creator being. You're less of, well, you're less, you never are a victim. You're not a victim. And that's part of that, conscious awakening.
So we're making things happen. Things aren't just happening to us, which is not what we're taught in elementary school. It's not what our parents probably taught most people. And so for me, quantum physics is what, I'm the science girl. So that's what drew my attention to it. Like, this is a science. And just like, I mean, it's sort of science, but just like we didn't know about electricity until we knew about electricity. We didn't know about atoms until we knew about atoms. I feel like this is that kind of that next step, that next, a whole new world kind of thing that's opening up, and people are kind of discovering it as they go.
Yes.
And I just want to start, before I start asking you questions, to let you know that, so we've been having a discussion about some of the things that have been happening in Samantha's life, in my life, whatever. And she and I and we and a lot of people have decided that this is all part of this, what is it? Dark Night of the Soul. So I had kind of heard her, mentioning that along the way, but I didn't really know what it was. So in the 7 minutes before we got on here, I did a little research. So I went to, and what I found was that it's often used informally to describe an extremely difficult and painful period in one's life, like death of a loved one, breakup of a marriage, diagnosis of a life-threatening illness. But for us, we're also talking about just the upheaval of our lives. Like, just stuff is happening.
Bigger stuff's happening.
Bigger stuff is happening, and it's affecting us more drastically. And one of the reasons why I wanted us to talk about this so much right now is that another thing in my research I found was that 1 in 4 teenagers, early millennial people considered suicide during the pandemic. And so the pandemic kind of was a start of us all kind of seeing some different things, or at least for me.
Mhm.
And Samantha knows, and many people know, I had 2 brothers that committed suicide. And so I'm like tuned into that, definitely. And there we were having a discussion about how some of these millennials are thinking, like, what's it all about? Like, why are we even here? Like, this is so difficult.
Mhm.
And my own daughters are like, I don't want to do adulting anymore. I don't, and all of us kind of felt that along the way, but it seems like it's even harder now for them
Mhm. And are you just
than it
saying,
was for us.
are you saying just millennials, or are you also referring to Gen Z?
I don't know who they are, so tell us who millennials are, who Gen Z are. I just know that my daughters are 28 and 24, and they and their contemporaries
Mhm.
are feeling this hard and telling me all the time.
Yeah. So when we're talking about like millennials were at the start, they end, or well, they they were introduced in their life from no internet to all of a sudden the digital age coming in, and it was
Right.
a wild and woolly, wild west kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so they were exposed to a lot without us knowing, because they're curious kids, and so they're out there exploiting it and seeing things that like we weren't thinking about needed to be censored or whatever before,
Right.
like all of it came along so quickly. um so so when this and you guys, we're going to have people joining us as we go, so it's going to be a bit of a, it might seem like a little bit of distraction. Hopefully it isn't. Like we said, this is experimental, and so we're just going to go with it. But so when we talk about the millennials, they're at the end of that exploration of the digital age, the wild west, the like they saw things we had no idea what all was going into their heads. Now Gen Zs, we locked it down a little bit before Gen Zs came along, and Gen Zs, they've lived with it their whole life.
And
They've
that's
learned.
right in the middle of that age range that I'm saying that my 2 girls are.
Yeah,
So
your younger one is Gen Z, the older one
yes, and the older one is at the end of
tail end.
the millennials, and that explanation makes so much sense because um, there was the big, do we get them a cell phone? Don't we get them a cell phone? Now everybody has a cell phone. And I was a teacher through all of that. So
Hmm.
I experienced exactly what you're talking about. And as a teacher and a parent of kids that age, it was difficult. It was difficult for us to kind of maneuver through it. I think the Wild West is a really good way to describe it.
Yeah, we were pretty stupid about, but then again, as kids of the 80s, and these are our children we're talking about, the tail end and the beginning, tail end of
Mhm.
millennial, beginning of Gen Z. As kids of the 80s, we were left to our own devices. So that's kind of why we were leaving our kids to their own devices in the beginning, until literally own devices, until we realized, whoa, halt that. But okay, so let's move forward with this. So we're talking about the dark night of the soul, and the bigger picture, the bigger meaning on that.
Okay,
Um,
can I real quick break before you say that?
mhm.
I was talking about my research. And
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah, sorry.
when I went on Amazon and I looked up Dark Night of the Soul, because I was like, there's got to be a book, there's got to be a something. Well, what comes up when there's a book or a something is the Catholic monk Thomas More wrote a book called Dark Night of the Soul. And so there are many things in there that are attributed to him. I guess maybe he came up with the phrase that most people know now. I don't know. But in my mind, this is not a Catholic thing. This is not a religious thing. And I don't think it was for him either, because he and now some of the people in psychology are saying that it needs a spiritual response, not a therapeutic response. So many, I think of,
Interesting.
I don't even know who, but they were saying it's depression, it's bipolar, it's this, it's that, it's whatever, but it's so far beyond any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all my research. That's all I have.
So she's totally winging it from this moment forward.
But I think the reason I wanted to share it was because for me, I thought, okay, wait a minute. I'm looking at this as a spiritual, something that we're all kind of going through. But is it just the monks that are talking about it? Is it just the Catholic Church that's talking about it? So immediately I thought, I almost was like, well, we need to shut this down because this is so religious and we're not really about that. That's not really our conversation usually. So anyway, that's where all that was coming from.
Okay, interesting.
Just to preface, because you and I haven't talked about it before we talk now.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Well, yeah. And so the thing is, we started into this conversation and we said, no, hold on, because we wanted anyone who views this to see how our discussions go and how we end up into these. Sometimes it's profound. Well, it's always a profound conversation, we feel like, but sometimes there's rabbit trails. So we're going to try to stay just on the topic, but the topic is bigger than just this.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, on my other podcast that I do with my good friends up in Charleston, Will and Allison Brown, so that's Out on a Limb. On that podcast, we interview a lot of spiritual people. We talk about spiritual concepts, like we're into the metaphysical aspect of things. And one of the things we like to ask the guests is, when they become consciously aware, when did they awaken? And we've talked about the concept of the dark night of the soul, because it pretty much follows that almost every single person before their awakening has had a dark night of the soul. Like they've just had, and again, so dark night of the soul does not mean that one evening you just go into a depressive state.
Mm-hmm.
It's brought on by an accumulation of different things, generally speaking. Could be one thing, but it's generally one thing builds upon the other until your soul is so heavy that you just feel like it's taking you down.
And it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. That's where the progressive thing, that's the way I envision it. Like,
Exactly.
this is the last straw. I cannot take it anymore.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about dark night of the soul, like as far as that awakening process, that's one result that could come out of it. But the main thing that comes out of it is when you reach the other side, the silver lining, is
the flip side.
Yeah, is that
the big
flip side. Is that you are stronger, you are wiser, you are braver, you are more aware. I mean, it's that thing that solidifies, clarifies who you are, because when you're up against something that is so you can't put words to, your emotions are overwhelmed, and you're trying to find meaning. When the meaning begins to sink in, it's like you have now sifted through all of those in-between feeling states of, well, maybe this is right and maybe this is wrong and I'm not quite comfortable with this. Like there's no more doubt. Like it's crystal clear.
Well,
and it
and the
doesn't mean you
song that comes through my mind is what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly.
And, we kind of do that quippy, but really, truly, that is the absolute truth. And once it comes through, you feel stronger. But in the middle of it, you feel like crap.
Yep, exactly. And the thing is, it doesn't mean that when you come out of it, all of a sudden you make drastic life changes. But it's just that you have achieved, it's like new level, baby. You've achieved a whole new set of, clarity. And so there's that clarity, but then a lot of times what results out of that is a leveling up, an awakening process, getting more in touch with who you are, what space you're moving into. So I'm going to use myself. Then this is another reason why I want to do this, because I'm going through this at the moment. and I'm going to be really good about not getting emotional about this.
Well,
Um,
good luck with that. But also, because you're going through it at the moment, and we just started discussing it, and you've discussed it with other people, we have realized that a lot of people are going through it at the moment. And Sam's going to just talk about her experience right now, but what prompted the reach out to so many other people that are having this same experience.
exactly. So, I'm going to preface it with it's a couple of different things. I don't post some things on Facebook, not because I'm trying to make my life look beautiful or perfect, but because some things are intimate and close to me, and I honor them as such. So it's not something that I don't need anyone's outside sympathy. I don't need to draw attention to myself. It's more of an honoring of myself. So this summer has been one hell of a summer. And I'm going to describe a couple of different things that play into where I am right at this moment. But the first one is I had a 17-year-old cat. And, some people go, it's a cat. It's just a cat. But this cat had lived with us for 17 years. She had, through process, become my cat, even though my daughter was like, she was always your cat. And we kept thinking she was going to die any day. Well, she kept living, kept coming back around, kept surviving, whatever. This cat is the only cat that I've ever had that would come up and sit in my lap. So it'd be curled in my lap, and then it would reach its paw up and like just sit there and stroke your face. And the moment you would not give it attention, it would do it again. And so then you'd start to pet. And when you stop, she would just, so she had all these things that were very communicative, which was amazing with a cat. And then towards the last couple of months of her life, she really started gravitating towards my husband, which was very kind of her to do. He finally broke down and admitted he loved the cat. But anyway, she took a turn for the worse with chronic kidney disease. And I remember, so this is like going through the most painful week of trying to separate her. What do I do for her? How do I make her comfortable? Trying to communicate and understand what her needs were. And I'm trying to keep this really short, but I want y'all to understand the buildup of emotions. But I remember I had separated her in a bathroom, and I was like, this can't be her life, is being in a bathroom. And so every day, I'd go and I'd let her out because she was having incontinence and stuff. So I opened the door, and she comes out, and she's barely walking. She's hitting up against the wall as a guidepost. And she makes it all the way through my house, past the living room, through the kitchen, and out onto our lanai. And then she just flops. She's just like, I don't have anything else in me. Like, she wanted to be outside so badly. And when that occurred, I was like, this is it. This is her last day. And I was like, and she gets to be in the sun as much as she wants. Now, if anyone knows this summer, especially in the South, it has been feels like temperature 110.
Yeah.
It was most unenjoyable at 9 a.m. sitting with her. And, but I put something underneath her. I put some pillows, underneath me, and I sat there petting her and just sobbing. I cried so hard. It was just it was so intense. And yet I was like, she got to live a good life. This will be okay. And as things work out, it's just fascinating how synchronicities happen. I had friends at Palmetto Animal League, the local rescue group, and they said that one of my favorite people were going to be in town doing vet work. And she had moved to Aruba, but she just happened to be in town to watch after her parents for a couple of weeks, and was donating her time. And it was her first day back, and she was happy to come to my house. So I was able to have her come to my house and have my whole family gather around this cat. And it was a very intimate and very close, and we were able to be light about it. And we were able to release her, and in the most beautiful way possible. Not every pet gets that option. So it was hard, all in the space of things. It was hard, but life can go on, right? So we had a really beautiful little ceremony and buried her out back. And I had been working through just the concept of losing her. Like just the idea, okay, her body's buried. That's not her. She is her energy. I can't wait to feel her energy, and going through all of this. Just because I'm, spiritual and woo woo, and just because I'm aware of other things doesn't mean that I still don't have that very human side that feels and,
Heartbreak.
yeah, goes through all of that. So
Mm.
then, within about a week, our other cat that's 15, which is my daughter's cat, Isis, she started exhibiting problems. Now I knew she was already having some weird things going on, but I recognized right away chronic kidney disease. And she didn't have the weight on her that the other cat did. And it just started to go downhill. So I was letting my daughter know. So I'm not even recovered from losing my older cat. And I'm telling my daughter, something's going on. You need to come over here. This doesn't look good. And I can't stand telling my daughter this because this cat is like her heart. It's like my daughter took a piece of her heart out, gave it to this cat and said, here, you hold this for me. I mean, it's that intense.
Can I
So
jump in for 1 second?
sure. Yeah.
I'm not a cat lady. I'm not a cat person. I'm allergic to cats. So cats are not my deal. I'm also not really a dog person, but I love my dog. But just living through this with you has broken my heart because these animals are members of your family. It's like losing a child. It's like losing, and I know it's not the same as losing a child. I get that,
Yeah.
but you still go through the grieving process. And the
Hmm.
longer you have them, the harder it is.
Yep. Without a doubt. I mean, that is absolutely true. And they have, because it's unconditional love, it's a different kind of love that you are grieving over the loss of. So it's
Yeah.
a different. Um, so I did get, I mean, I was amazed. My daughter, she literally stopped like everything. Every evening she was coming over to spend time with her cat. And by this time I didn't have to put her in the bathroom. I had her in my office. So in this space, and I had like pads around her litter box, and she was able to get to her litter box, but she just slowly refused to eat. Like she wouldn't eat this, then she wouldn't eat that. And I was going to all the go-tos. And anyway, so she was slowly dying. And I sent my daughter an article just saying, you're going to have to make a decision sooner or later. And so we chose a day. We knew we couldn't make it for this woman to come back into town, which would have been such a blessing. So we were having to take her to the vet, and my daughter struggling with the whole question of, how can you just do this? She's looking at me, she's purring. How do you, and I like
Know
the
when
word,
it's the right time.
yeah,
How do you know? How do you know?
yeah, yeah. Well, if you're someone like me, you can go to you have friends who can help you connect with that higher self of the animal
Yeah.
and get some feedback, or people can come to me and I can give them that information, which is super helpful. So for me, because you can't listen to yourself, it doesn't work. So I had some friends that it helped, but it helped because you got the bigger picture, but it still hurts, still
Yeah.
grieving. So we took her to the vet, and my daughter, like, it was very emotional for her. So I am dealing with my own previous grief, and now this cat, who my daughter had left her with us, this cat had become an office mate of mine, like had kicked the other cat out. So she had been a part of my life every single moment of my day. And so I'm grieving about it too. And then we go through the process of releasing. And I was just about to say, I like releasing more than euthanize.
Mhm.
So we released her from the pain she was going through. And during this whole time, on top of it, um, I was, and I'm trying to find, I want to say this in a way that is honoring and not being, um, anyway, I just got to try to,
Oh,
you have other relationships in your life, right? And one of the relationships in my life with my husband, um, is not great with emotions. So he was having a very hard time comprehending the pain that my daughter and I were going through. And he's very supportive of what I do, has my back. But he knows I'm an empath. He knows I pick up on others' feelings. He knows that Tessa and I have to literally say, get out of my head, step back, because we just meld. And so he kept, when I was upset, he kept saying, well, you're just picking up on Tessa, instead of acknowledging that I had feelings. And that was creating so much resistance and frustration. But then also there was a lot of tone deaf things that he just wasn't reading the room, you know. And this is a thing, you know, and a lot of men are blessed with this.
Well, and have been trained that that's what their role is
Hmm.
from being little boys. Don't cry, don't cry, don't show your emotion.
Yeah. But it's part of a larger picture. Okay. So the two cats going through this, and and the challenges we were already going through, are going through, and this inflamed all of that. It brought a lot to light, thus the dark night of the soul that brings clarity and stuff. And so we have all of this going on. So let me add another thing. We were also going into what's called, August 8th was Lionsgate, 8/8. And Lionsgate was all about transformation and awareness of family and relationships. And it was a very unusual Lionsgate, with the lining up of certain planets, which I can't recall. But the energy was super intense to people who are aware of the energy. So when I talk about Muggle world, it's, something feels off. People are cranky, stuff's going on, it doesn't make sense, but you don't know what to make of it, because you haven't attuned yourself to the energy of what's happening around you, because everything's vibrating at a certain energy. There's all these frequencies around you. So for someone like me, I'm aware of the intensity ramping up, and I am dealing with, I mean, the intensity of it happened in between the two deaths. So on top of all of that, I'm having these challenges. And after we had buried her also in the backyard, that was this, it's just like, listening to some of the things that my husband was saying, it's like that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I could no longer function. I thought I was functioning, but I was pushing stuff away to just feel okay. And all of a sudden, like, I could not catch a happy moment. And it wasn't that I was depressed, it's that I was in tears. I was in grief.
Yeah.
I was, and Diana's helped me through a lot of this. I've had a lot of people come out and be really good about helping me with this. Did you want to
Well,
say?
and that's one of the reasons for this bonus podcast. You need your people. You need to be able to talk to your people. You need your people to be able to listen to you. And all of our other podcasts where, okay, this is the flip side, and I did this, and then I did that, and but this is a lot of what our conversations are like. And yes, sometimes it's lighthearted, but sometimes it's, I'm hurting. Can I just tell you the story? And so many women, men maybe not so much, but women just need to be heard. And then
Validated.
as they're telling the story, they're working through. And I know, like yesterday, you said, thank you for helping me work through all of this. And really, all I was doing was listening and giving back what you gave me,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of advice, but for the most part, I was just listening. And so that's a skill that so many of us have. And some people are much better at it than others. And those are the empaths, because they take on the emotion of their friend. Like when I got off the phone with you, I was just like so heartbroken for you. And I felt like, oh, what can I do to, and I'm a helper. So what can I do to help her? What can I do to help her? Well, what I did to help you was to listen to you, and I'll keep on listening to you until you can get through those grief stages, because it there are stages and they take
Mm-hmm.
time, and sometimes it comes back at you in waves.
Yeah,
um and you want it to be over and you want to be done and whatever, but it's a process.
most definitely. So, I want to say it's not, sure, somebody losing two cats it can start the ball rolling, you know.
There's so much more with the loss of those two cats than a
Well,
cat lady losing her two cats. Like,
yeah, it wasn't just that. They symbolized a lot more. They were kind of a stop point to other things, options I would consider in life. They were, and again, I'm trying to be very sensitive in this podcast, because like I said, there are challenges that I'm working through in a bigger picture with my relationship. And so it threw all of that into like a very, like into a void for me to examine, to look at. And I'm not at the other side of it by any stretch of the imagination. I'm still walking into my office and noticing that she's not there, and again, a lot of this I can go back to the cat. The cat's just assisting me. The cat's passing is just assisting me in grieving a deeper aspect of what's going on, the realization of certain concepts, certain um patterns, just things that are reality for me at this time.
mm,
And so you've got Lionsgate, all of that taking place, which is easing off now. We're about to go into Mercury in retrograde, I think,
I
which
think so too,
fun
because I
times.
read that. And see, all of these things, she just throws them out like it's just a thing, Lionsgate. And so then I'm like, okay, well, you have Lionsgate. So you need to just make sure you put your feet in the grass and ground yourself, because that's what you taught me. Get under the water, get in the shower, wash your hands, you got to ground yourself, you got to get your energy evened out. And so it's funny because I just keep throwing these things out, and I will until I understand what the hell's going on. And so that's what's happening with the dark night of the soul for me too. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And as you are talking, my thought is muggle world. When I was a teacher, and anybody who's a teacher or a healthcare worker, hospital, ambulance, whatever, knows that when there's a full moon, people go crazy. And that's energy. That's energy in the universe. We have evidence of it, because that's the
Yeah.
science
Yeah.
teacher in me. We would plan, as teachers, we would plan in school, let's not have a test on the day on full moon.
Oh,
Or we
really?
know Friday the 13th and it's a full moon, Lord sakes, get your sleep the night before.
I'm sitting here looking up something. I'm not just like ignoring, but
Yeah, that's okay. But
I
I
think it's
just
a full
kind of
moon right now.
associated that, and it does something to the energy. And we know it affects the tides. We know it affects,
Okay.
a lot of things in nature,
Mhm.
but that hyped up energy is visible. Like, I've talked to nurses in emergency rooms, and they're like, yep, we were just busy as could be. People go crazy. And they go crazy, like mentally crazy, but they also do odd and strange things that get them hurt.
Yeah.
So they end up in the emergency room. Like,
So,
their mind just isn't there.
yep. So I'm going to bring up a couple of other concepts because it was a full moon when all this was occurring, like between Sunday and Monday, where I finally had my real breakdown.
Yeah, I
Uh,
didn't even think to look at that, but it came to me as you were talking.
yeah. So I'm like, wow, that's so cool.
And this is our conversations. Like, I come in with something from out left field, but it kind of helps you understand what you're trying to explain to me too. Go
It's
ahead.
so crazy.
Sorry.
So, sometimes you can feel like you're so alone in this stuff, but especially with the ability of social media now, being able to be in contact with people who are more sensitive to the energy of things. So hold that concept. Sunday evenings, I do a meditation group. I have a meditation group that I work with, and we always share what we saw within the group. Like when we were in the meditation, we share it with each other in the group because we're always seeing bits and pieces of each other's meditation. There's more to this group, but I'm not going to go into it right now. But
That's way above our pay grade at this point. Go ahead.
I need to know. Um, but what was interesting, I say interesting, but when we started off, we have one individual who always offers like a clearing meditation. And, it's like just kind of release energy to, maybe work on the chakras. It does, different things. And And what she gave us was so intense, really intense. And then most of us turn our video off and we go into then a 15-minute meditation session. I couldn't do what I normally do because I was so overwhelmed by the grief going through me. And here's the thing, I'd had an okay day, but there was so much, like I was releasing, like she was offering for us to do, and I accepted it. And so here I'm releasing all this stuff. So there's no way I could go into this deep meditation. And I'm just kind of holding myself going, do I just leave a message and say bye-bye to everybody and not get back on after the meditation? And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it because maybe some other people experience this. So I got on and I'm just like, all of a sudden my palms are sweaty and I feel like I'm going to start crying in front of everybody. I'm like, nope, I can do this. I can do this. And we start sharing, and almost out of everybody, nobody could get into the meditation. Everyone was having problems. Everyone was thrown off. So it wasn't just me feeling this energy. It wasn't just the grief from the cats. It wasn't just the situation, in my
There's more
relationship.
to it. And
Yeah.
that's why we're talking. Yeah.
Yes. And
Not just
so, yeah, not just Lionsgate, like there's all this other upheaval. And so when it was finally my turn, I hardly get to the end of what I'm saying. And I'm just like, that's it. And I'm trying to keep it together. And someone said, I'm so sorry you're having a challenging time with this, Samantha. And before she even finished, I clicked off my video because then I lost it and I grieved. I sat here and cried and cried. And the thing is, I wasn't just crying for the cats. I was crying for the relationship. I was crying for the pain of the world, what we're going through right now. All the lies, the deception, the distractions, the confusion. I was crying for just the pain my daughter was going through, the inexplicable pain, how she can't even reason with it, because this was so incredible to her. And it was just so incredibly intense. So after the call, everybody kind of checked in with me, sent me messages, and that was nice. But then the next day, Monday, yesterday, I had the conversation with Diana about this, and she was helping me work through it. And she's like, Samantha, put it out there. Let them know you need help. You're a part of the group. Let them know that you're in pain and you need help. So I said, my daughter had sent me, and I've got to post this. My daughter sent me this
Oh yes, definitely post that. Where
dark
did she
night of the
get that?
soul. I don't know where the hell she gets this stuff.
But it was like right on time, on place, on, like right on time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it's really
so
interesting. So let's definitely post that.
did I already post? No, I didn't post it in the group.
No,
So
you sent it to me though.
yeah. And I think what I'll do is probably not post it in our group. I'll post it in our blog posts as on
I
the
think that's a good
resources.
idea. And that's what I was hoping for when I was doing my research,
Mhm.
that Jeeves will help us explain a lot of this stuff even more than what we're talking about. Because I
Exactly.
don't think this is a one-parter. I think this is going to be an ongoing possible, something that will help us all through what's happening.
Yep.
And
And so for those that don't know, Jeeves is our AI buddy who helps us move through all of the content, all this material that we're trying to get across to everyone in a faster, more organized way outside of our discussions. So so I shared, my daughter had sent that right when I was talking to Diana, and Diana had encouraged me to talk to the group. So I posted that to the group and said, I'm really feeling this dark night of the soul. And they came back with absolute love and support. And how can we help? I can do this. I can do this. Let's meet. Let's talk about this, because we're all light workers. We're all energy healers. We're all channelers in this group. And everyone was there for me. It was just incredible. So of course, I'm sobbing yet again because the outpouring of love, but then there's still that grief. And the thing is, the grief, I can feel it, and I've got to keep working. I'm not going to just suddenly paint a happy face and act like everything's right with the world and ignore it, because it has been brought to light for me to heal. And if
yeah,
anyone knows about my work as a life coach, a spiritual life coach, is that it's all about healing. It's all about healing and moving into that lighter space of being. And so, and there's, that will lead in another moment to why I want to discuss this today.
and we're coming up on almost an hour, so I don't know where a good place
we're going to keep going with it.
Okay,
And
I'm ready.
and-
I'm ready to keep on. I just wanted to make sure
yeah.
that you didn't have a hard stop.
Okay. So, and I'm going to wrap this up in a very few short concepts. So one of the people posted back to me as support that they're like, I had mentioned that there, I said, remember, hold that thought about there's other people in the world who are perceiving the energy and everything. Well, they happen to write posts. Two totally different people. I don't know that they know each other or hang out. I think they're in two totally different places in the world. They both posted on the same topic about how there's been an energy shift, a huge one that it wasn't just leveling up some people. It wasn't doing the transformation thing just for a couple of people. It was a major shift in our consciousness to people, humans as a whole. And I don't know, I said humans, but it could be the whole planetary consciousness. It could be all energy that is here. So yeah, sometimes you guys, I talk about big concepts.
Well,
Um,
and I think if all of us took a minute to think about it, there's been a shift over the last few weeks and months. Things are just weird. They're
cray cray.
just different. They're, yes, cray cray. And you might, and I haven't been able to put a finger on it, but that this may be the finger that
Yeah.
all of us have, and we can give it the finger, or we can work through it. I was trying to get a little levity in here. I'm so sorry.
No,
Well,
no,
and you
it's
can see why we sat down to record our normal podcast. We're about a week ahead of everybody, and we just couldn't do what we normally do. This was way more important.
yep, yep, most definitely. So I will include those the posts there, the post in Facebook, and I will include those in our resources. Or I might just copy and paste it, but also have the link.
Okay.
Because it was so intense, very short read. And again, discernment, take what resonates for you, leave the rest behind. Um, but they were explaining this huge shift that's occurring. And the way, and so I'm going to describe this just for a minute, a little bit, so you understand. I've known for a long time, I've understood this concept, and it's come to me from different sources. And so because it's from different sources, it has become a more valid concept. That I'm like, okay, this is a working theory. Yeah, I can see this. I'm seeing aspects of this that make sense. And that, is that, yes, we're in ascension process, meaning Earth, everything is made of energy. Earth, particles, all that kind of stuff. Consciousness is energy. It's all elevating from the third to the fourth, fifth dimension. Some people believe that we're already in the fourth dimension. Some people believe that, you can't be in the fourth, you'd go fourth and then fifth, and then you can't see the third. Like there's all of these, we don't know what the actual capital T truth is, but we know that there's something more going on there. And we know people are shifting, and we know that they're moving from their head space, which is where humans have been forever and a day, into their heart space, which is a whole different way of living your life, expressing, communicating, making choices. So with these concepts, and this ascension process we're moving into, I'm trying to tie this together because it's like so much. I've known that there's someone I love listening to, Jamie Butler. She's one of my mentors. And, and you guys, if anyone knows me well enough, they know that I have no problem sharing, even if somebody does the same work I do, you can get bits from me, you can get bits from them, you can find who your mentor is, who can help you work through this stuff. I'm always available for one-on-one on a longer term. Not everyone does that kind of thing. So I don't have any problem saying, here's another source. This is who I like listening to. And Jamie Butler is wonderful. Well, she did, through her channeling with Maitland, they did, what do you call that? A thing for the year, not a prognostication, but a
Prediction.
prediction for 2020.
Sort of.
Yeah. So, anyway, they said, hey, it was going to start off kind of good up till March. Then it would get a little weird, between April and May and into June. The summer was going to start getting intense, and then the fall's going to be off the charts. Yeah. So buckle up, baby.
Yeah.
So, I can give a reference to what that link was. If anyone wants to go back and kind of retro listen to it.
Yeah.
Because it also talked about 2024. Like nobody wants to talk about 2024. And I don't know if it's because there's going to be such a massive change or it's going to be a shit show. I have no idea. But the reason why this was important to me to bring up to get people to be aware of is that there's a lot of other things affecting your emotions, affecting your physicality, like your headaches, stomach things, when you should be feeling perfectly fine. Or you go to a doctor and you say, something's wrong. I don't know what's going on. And the doctor just goes, you check out fine to me. You need to find people like me, and I can give you other resources of people I go to help you, because what it tends to be is these energetic blocks. There's things going through, and it usually every time has to do, usually every time, that's kind of has to do with the need to heal. Something's blocked, some awareness has come up, and you need to release from it.
Well, and
But
so many of us are used to the Western, here's a pill, this will help you, whatever. And Eastern medicine has not been like that for eons, not
yeah,
eons, but thousands of years. So that's more of a spiritual based, some
mhm,
of the things that come about in Eastern Middle and holistic healing, that kind of thing.
yeah,
And because we were raised to believe that the doctors know everything and the medical profession knows everything, and we've seen in the last couple of years that that is just not true.
mhm,
And so we
exactly.
need to start shifting more in this direction.
So it's exciting stuff because you're actually getting the help you really, really need. So again, I'm trying to wrap it up. I'm sorry. But so then there's another person who backed a lot of this theory, another channeled entity called Bashar. And I will put that link in there for his thing on, it was called The Eye of the Needle. Some people may be familiar with it, his one particular channeling. And he channeled it right at the end of 2019, warning us about 2020, and to start deciding, what is it you want to be? Do you want to move into the heart space, heal, and embrace the lightness that is coming, the higher vibration energies that are coming in? Or are you choosing to go, nope, I don't believe in any of that. I'm going to stay in the headspace. What I see is what I believe, and that's it. And just go around with those pre-programmed ideas and live that, muggle life. Um, and here's the thing, anybody who's staying in that density of, I'm a victim, the world sucks, blah, 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 as the energy of the earth is going up, it's not like these people are coming up. They're feeling heavier. It's becoming more intense. And so Bashar, this one particular, I mean, he's got lots of good stuff, but this one particular one will kind of give you a basis of, oh, wow, look at this. Okay. So what these people are talking about, they know, they can see the arc of where we're going. So the last thing I want to say is what's come, and what one of these posts was talking about was going into these last couple of months of this year. People, you've got to start healing. You have got to start embracing moving into the heart space, because it is a choice of whether they're talking about how 3D and 4 5D, I don't, they're kind of together. It's kind of strange, but they're starting to exist both vibrationally on this earth at the same time. And it is like you're going to be experiencing other people around you who are experiencing hardships, things going on, but it doesn't affect you because you're in a different timeline. You're in a different existence. Like you don't have those things going on. What?
Okay, so she just talked about a different timeline. So this is how we go down different rabbit holes. And then I'd ask her, well, what does that mean, a timeline? And what does that mean, third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension? So if you have questions about anything that Samantha mentioned, I may not have chimed in because we've already had that discussion. And I do want to say that Samantha has been coaching me and working with me since the moment we met. We've been working through things together, but she is a wonderful resource and she is available. So a fire within me,
Oh, it's a fire within .me.
the fire within.me.
A
No.
fire within .me.
We'll put it in the
My website all
description.
the time. Oh my
But
God.
she's got good information in there. You can make appointments, you can reach out with questions, all of that kind of stuff. So use her like I have. That's the point of my story.
Okay. So wait, I think, did I get through? Yeah, about the timeline.
Yes, and to
Yeah.
go into start moving to healing and
And
her.
so, like for me with COVID didn't affect me like it affected other people. And you like, so what's interesting with Diana is that she has already kind of moved into a lot of this without realizing all of the intentionality of it. It's just how her mantra, how you were living your life, right? And
Well, it was survival mode for me, but luckily I had an intuition and I listened to it. I think.
yeah,
I think I had the ability to listen to my inner being and God and the universe and all of that, and I didn't even know that that's what I was doing.
yeah, you were always choosing the lighter, higher, happier path
Right.
and letting shit go.
And again, it was survival. I had to, but then I realized how valuable that is. And that's why the KISS podcast came about
Hmm.
between the two of us. I mean, it's valuable things to add to your toolbox, tool belt,
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly. So that's I think I rounded that out just knowing that I kind of, well, it's almost like a cliffhanger because the next 3 months,
It's gonna happen.
yeah, it's kind of like, well, what happens if I don't? What if it happens if I don't choose to heal and be in a lighter space? Well, it's just not going to be much fun, you know? And the thing is, we don't know. Again, I always say capital T truth. We don't know what that's going to look like. But but we know enough from our past experience that it's not a place I would choose to be. Um, I work very consciously on releasing my emotions, which is why I'm going through all the stuff that I'm going through because it's brought about this awareness and it's helping me to release and, and move into being more of who I am, who I want to express myself as being a powerful healer, powerful, loving woman, to move into embracing the highest values I can see of myself. That's where I want to be.
Well, and
Why
you do
wouldn't you?
it
Because it's so much better.
consciously. And I'm trying to swing into that consciously. And I'm hoping that people that choose to be our KISS sisters and misters are choosing that too. And if not, that's okay. It You can take it in bits and pieces, small little bites of what's happening, which is what I've done over the past almost year. But I was ready to dive in head first instead of dipping my toe in. For some people, dipping your toe in is the way you want to be, and don't let this the stuff that you don't believe in shut you down to keep dipping your toe in and keep trying some of these strategies and some of these tools that we're sharing.
Mhm. Exactly. So, in wrapping this up, as Diana was saying, if you have questions following this, we'll stop the recording in a minute. You can ask those questions. If you're watching this after the fact, please ask questions in the group and we will answer. And if somebody, says, hey, look, we'd like to do this as a session, a Zoom session. It doesn't have to be live, but it would be an active session with all of us where you guys ask questions and stuff. Diana and I are offering coaching. We're offering free coaching to everyone, is what we're doing
That's what's
here.
happening here. Free coaching.
And if you want, private coaching, seek out private coaching with me, someone else, whatever. But we got your back here. We want people to be happier and to move into that space. And this is what we love. So we're doing it. Creating
Well,
a
if
monster.
anybody wants to reach out, and I'll try and remember specific examples, but I can give some examples of how Samantha has helped me through our one-on-one coaching too. But everybody's life is a little different. Everybody's experience is a little different.
Mhm.
Um, that's all.
And that's okay. Okay. This was good. So you
Yeah,
guys, anyone who's on, stay on. The rest, you guys, thank you for watching us. We really appreciate it. And
definitely.
just know this is the bonus session. We will have it up on YouTube and
And our Tuesday, Fridays will continue on.
exactly. All right. Bye.
Bye. See you next time.
I'm going to stop the recording.